All right, we are live. It is Thursday, July 30th. It's weird because, man, the weeks, I don't know about you, the weeks right now, maybe it's the heat in Texas. They're just all messed up because my days are all confused. Like I was thinking today's Wednesday and I looked up it's Thursday. And anyway, so is it just me? Is it just in the Granbury area or are you having the same issue?
No, I think it's mostly it's generalized. The heat is not helping at all.
It's not helping at all, is it? It is
Right.
crazy. It's so well before we hop into it, do a quick introduction, who you are, what you do, and then we'll hop into the show. But
Well, my name is Rodrigo. I run a fractional AI uh, fractional chief AI engineering firm. What we do is we mostly build your AI system and help you with all in this world where they are plenty of gurus telling you what to do. We actually do the things for you.
well, do you want to tell the story about how I could use one because of what just happened? Do you want to go and tell everyone like what could
Yeah.
have?
Yeah, I mean, the email was sent to for me to enter this meeting, but I was sent the wrong email. So Ryan had to to enter into the game and send me the right one. And it's fun because I've been receiving these these alerts from a couple of weeks ago, and and no one thought that the link was wrong. So an agent here, for example, could catch it really fast and help avoid these kind of mistakes.
And what's funny is I don't know. Last week, some people were in a different room, and I thought, okay, what's the problem? So I went to the calendar invite, and I used StreamYard, and so I had two StreamYard links in the calendar invite that I put in there, one for one room, one for the other. I thought that was the issue, and then someone's like, "Hey, I logged into the Ecamm thing." I'm like, "I haven't used Ecamm on how long?" And so then I went and realized the email thing I had that, so I took it out. Well, I guess it didn't hit save because you sent that same thing to me, and I was like, "Okay, cool, he'll be there." And then you weren't here, and I was like, "Uh-oh, let me go look." And sure enough, it was still there, and it's like, "Oh man." So, okay, so let's just talk about that. That's a very simple thing that us dumb rednecks should not do, but we do. So, how would an agent stop that from happening?
Well, let's start by the beginning, right? And what an agent is, right? No
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
there is a bunch of blah blah everywhere. So I would like to start here. And an agent, I like to think it like a really smart employee that doesn't have a very good memory. So kind of like an intern, right? So for it to work, it needs mostly a trigger, and then it runs on the rules or parameters that you gave him. So mostly it will be just reviewing and catching this mistake by sending by reviewing that the right link is sent and that checking that no one is getting the other email. And it can either alert you that you have double links to enter, or maybe just telling you just replacing the link and doing it for you depending on how you configure it.
Okay. And you said we don't know what they mean. That's also true. Like, where does this agent come from? I can't just snap my fingers. So, is this Claude? Is this ChatGPT? Is it Gemini? Something else? Like, where does this agent originate from?
Yeah, so as I said before, an agent is software that does a job for you, right? So it has to exist somewhere. So mostly it runs in an independent system or an independent server where you build it. It's I don't want to enter into much blah blah, but it's a bunch of lines of code. So when you do an action, it understands what action you're doing or what trigger are you sending to him, and then a chain of actions start from trigger from that, right? So it depends. You can run agents on ChatGPT, you can run agents on Claude, you can run agents on Gemini. It depends on what do you want to do and what's your intended use. So it's different than yeah, than just your normal ChatGPT, because you're not just asking questions. You're actually working with him. You're actually telling him you want him to do stuff, and it can control your computer, for example, and use your tools that, for you.
Okay, so what you just described sounds pretty needed. Like, hey, you can do this thing. But then you see the news like OpenAI, their models are hacking competitors and stuff. So I know people are gonna be scared of this going, oh, well, how do I stop it from, sending my money to someone else or, changing my passwords I can't get in? Like how do you guardrail your agents so that they only do what you want them to do?
Well, this, yeah, I guess I get what you said. That was mostly, I think, with OpenClaw and with agents that you build yourself and that were not. I'll say it's not that they're not secure. For them to use your for hackers or for whatever people want to use your account, they need your API key, which is like a key of your like a key for enter your Claude or your yeah or your billing Claude, right? Or whatever tool you are using. But it's like your apartment. If you post this key of your apartment and pictures of it, or your credit card in Facebook, there's gonna be people using your credit card, right? So if you do it in the right way with the right chains and you lock it well, you won't have these kind of problems because your information will not be exposed.
Okay, so we kind of set the guardrails that there's OpenClaw, which is a little bit different than what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's a ways in which to protect your information. So, what are some of the best? And I know you've got your site we can pull up whenever you say, but what are the best use cases for an owner right now? Going, okay, I see all the hype. This thing's dead. This thing's replaced it. This thing's the best thing ever. Like right now, what should people be using AI for?
Okay, I think right now if we can switch, if we can share my screen, it would be really useful. So your question can be resumed on what can be automated, and I'll say it's mostly anything. But where I think or where I find the sweet spot is in really repetitive tasks. So where you already have defined parameters, predictable steps, and agent runs in a really, really reliable way. It doesn't mean you cannot use open-ended tasks. It just means the other ones are going to be more consistent. The repetitive tasks are going to be more consistent and they're going to be cheaper to run. So I think this is where the biggest or the sweet spot is for companies or for people to build around here. Yeah. So
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, please interrupt me.
Yeah, I'll say like when you say repetitive task, okay. I'm thinking, well, a repetitive task for me is I get emails all the time or DMs on X or stuff like that. It's repetitive. I do that, but they're all a little bit different on how I respond, how I interact. So is that repetitive, or is it like opening the door where it's just always turning the handle and you pull the door? Like, I know obviously that's in the real world, but I'm saying how repetitive does each part of the process of the task have to be to qualify as what you're calling repetitive?
So I'll say as long as you do it in a consistent way, even the subjects can change and everything. This is where AI acts really good because it can read the email, understand the context of that email, and then send it whatever it should be. So even if I don't know the communication between of us, right? We're sending a bunch of emails. So if we change the subject or everything, the agent can read and can see, hey, the subject has changed. This is now he has become a customer now, right? So he can start interacting like a customer and changing me from just someone you're talking with to your customer, or just changing the face of where I am, and then manage me or respond me in different ways. So even if I'll say there is some openness into these repetitive tasks. They keep or they follow some patterns, right?
And so like what I'm thinking about this, you have like Notebook LM, which is only going to stay inside the information in the notebook, and then a Claude or a ChatGPT or uh, Gemini, it's going to kind of search. Okay, so these bots, are they closer to the Notebook LM? It's kind of a closed environment, or is it closer to the ChatGPT Claude kind of environment?
No, it is closer to chat LLM. I mean, we we do create these boxes for them to live, right? So they have access to all context that we feed them. They're gonna live in this separate box with all that information, access to specific folders, to a specific tasks, and then act from there, rather than a normal ChatGPT that will access the internet and do some stuff. I mean, an agent can, if you desire, it can access the internet and search and run some different tasks from there, but it doesn't has to do it if you don't want him to do it.
And so is that through like Telegram? Like, how does he, you say you don't want him to do it. Like, what's kind of the workflow? Like, obviously you're not going to build one, but one's been built. How does he go about getting approval and permission from you?
Okay. So, first, if you want, we can just take the screen off for a moment. Yeah. So it is like, there are different kinds of agents, right? So there is this first agent that they run the same task every time. So those live in a server and they do follow the specific rules that you put him on.
Okay.
So let's say an example. Every time Rodrigo sends me an email, qualify the email into these different versions and respond depending on the context, with all these other contexts or pre-qualified answers that I have feed to you. And he will do it on itself. If the task starts being a little bit more complex and you need to supervise what he's doing, we just need to add that step into it, right? Like, hey, Brian is sending me this email. I'm writing the draft and I'm pinging you through Telegram, WhatsApp, Slack, an email to you. So right now I have I have the notification that I have an email draft for Ryan into my account, so I can just check, see the general context, and if it is writing well. For other options, like I'll say multi-agents like OpenClaw or Airmes, what you do is that you can just talk with him like if he was your employee. So one is an employee with a specific task to do, and he will never run out of it. And the other one is an employee that can build these other sub-agents to help him run the task. So if you are running a multi-agentic tool like OpenClaw, Airmes, or whatever other, there are multiple options right now in the market. You can just directly talk to him like if he was an employee, like, hey, to ask him to do some task, and he will try to find a way to do it and probably start building different kind of agents to deliver that task while he's doing some other stuff.
Okay, so let me ask you about this. Let's just presume that me and you own a plumbing company, okay?
Okay.
And the person who answers the phone is a human. And obviously the person who services the customer is a human. And the person who sends the invoice is the human. Okay.
Yeah.
A phone call comes in. What is the best way to use to make sure that technician goes out there, the invoice gets sent out, and we ask for a review? How many, like, and I obviously kind of loose. I don't know how many agents, I don't want you to put it, but like, how would you think about solving that problem?
Okay. So I mean, my first idea, because I haven't constructed or
it's on the spot. Yeah, it's on the spot. It's no.
But we can probably wire something to transcript the phone call, right? So once we have the transcript of the phone call, we know the context and we know where and we know what kind of situation it is, right? So maybe there is this plumbing emergency is best fit for person B instead of person A, right? So it is going to be, we can put these rules before, and the agent will be able to read the transcript, see the context, and understand that it's better to run it through or to send employee B to solve this kind of situation. So
right there. And it's going to know that because you begin to acquire the data on employee A, employee B, what they respond best to, location, how close they are, schedules. It's going to have all that at its, not his hand, but it's in its memory, right? Okay.
Of course, it can be on his memory, or if it depends on the location, we can connect it to a GPS, right? So it's going to know on Yeah, it's gonna know on lifetime where your employee is and send the closer, like just like an Uber, right? It's just gonna find where the closer plumbing agent is, and then he's gonna send that one to the emergency or whatever rules you tell him to do. And then if the phone calls continue and they give like, yeah, we know we need this kind of stuff, or this is the situation, and you already know how much you charge for this kind of emergencies, it can start creating the invoice on its own. If it has all the information it needs, it can deliver the invoice on its own, or you just can just send it to the person who has to review the invoice and add whatever extras they had to add, and then send it. But it can build the invoice itself too.
And so one thing that I'm wondering is how much will we need to train our staff to make sure they're asking kind of the same questions over and over again to the customer so that the agent knows, or can we just let it be more free flowing and the agent can figure it out? Like, because part of me goes, this might be a great way to train your staff on what's important to ask. But the other part of me goes, it might not matter as much because the agent can figure it out. So where does that land at?
So I'll say that line depends on how much you are willing to pay, right? The more open it is, the question or the conversation, the more the agent will have to understand, or to the more computational power it will have to use. It means more tokens will be burned and it will be more expensive. But if you can manage it to, if you can train your employee to ask the specific questions, then it's going to be really cheap. But when I'm telling it might be really cheap, we can say that if we manage to train our employees or team to do it in the same way every time, it can be only 11 cents to build everything, or maybe 20, right? But if we let it more open, it might be maybe $10, right? It's still cheap, but there is a lot of difference between 20 cents and
Yeah, it's a big
$10.
range. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
big range. And so each step of that process, if it's 10 cents or $10, just to work with those terms, then it's going to incentivize you potentially to train your people better. And I think a lot of things that I've seen in this world is that a lot of small businesses, their data is not clean enough. And so they don't really have clean data. They don't have SOPs. And so if you did this and you don't have it, you're going to pay that $10 for each step of this process theoretically. And then
Yeah.
you're going to go, oh, I see what this is costing me now. And it's hard to go, well, how much was this costing you in human time? But it's the same thing because it was taking longer to process the sales call, whatever the call is, to get the person out, to figure it out, because all of that stuff is going to be in some person's head, and then you got to replace that person. And so it will show you probably the various gaps in your workflows.
Yeah, it will show you where you can become more efficient, right? Or even something that we can add is, for that same example, at the end it can qualify the call, right? To qualify how good was the call, how was the attention given by the employee, and that's data that you can use to take your decisions to. But I don't like to think that AI will replace your team. This is something that is not fun to think for any of us, right? But I'll say where they help is just where you just said, like the repetitive middle, right? This that data entry, this status change, everything in the middle. But the judgment and the relationship has to stay human. And the where I see the biggest return of investment is on having your best people, giving them this time back for them to do something that is really useful for you. So these tasks that are, I mean, I won't say they're not worth, because they keep running your business, right? But they are really basic, and they don't require more technical capacities or bigger capacities to be running. They can be run by the machine and then free your team to do stuff that really matters.
One that I like to use is a sales manager reviewing call logs. Okay, because if you're using, Otter or Fathom or whatever it is to record your calls, and then the sales manager is going through and listening to all those calls, you're asking a lot of that person. Like they've got to be locked in for all those calls, listening to the tone, how the question was asked, checking the boxes. And obviously, someone who does it for 10, 15 years, they can kind of get it, but you got to replace that person at some point. Well,
Yeah.
here you can have AI look at the sales call. Did the person follow the script? Did they actually answer the question? Who's closing better? What words are being used? All these kind of things. And then the sales manager can go look at, maybe snippets, not the whole call, or maybe none of the call. And so that's one of those things. It sounds like a menial task, but it's really important. It needs to be done, but you're asking a lot of the human to make sure that their focus is really high for hours and hours and hours of sales calls, where the AI doesn't think about it's just their job. Like they don't go, I'm tired of doing this work today. I didn't sleep good last night. I'm sorry, man. They're just going to get in there and do it. And so the sales manager now, instead of having to listen to all the calls, they can focus on what the AI agent brought to their attention and then go train the staff. So now the work that was important was listening to the calls, but you've taken part of that and you've given it to the AI, and then now the most important part, which is the training, the sales manager can go do.
Or even on smaller teams, right? Like it's fun because that's something that I actually use. I'm not a salesperson. I'm someone techie, right? So I
Mhm.
struggle a little bit by selling. So every time I have these sales calls with different people, I save the transcript, and then I start feeding Claude about it and asking him to coach me. I do
Mhm.
want to become better at selling, right? So this is also it's a training tool for me, right?
Mhm.
It's not only for to making decisions, but for me as doing a task to become better at it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that you said a minute ago, we don't want to think of AI replacing humans. And I was listening to someone the other day, and they said that for bigger companies, what they're seeing is, and this might be anecdotal, but the amount of productivity that can be, at least at this point, I think they're already kind of AI heavy. So not from day one. At this point, it's like 5% a week, something like that. But the amount they'd have to invest in AI tokens to get to the other side is really expensive, and they're trying to decide whether or not they want to do that because it's a bunch of agents, a bunch of calls, and I think that's the thing to where we're not ready to replace people in mass just because first off we don't know how to get there. We got to spend a lot of money to figure it out. But then on top of that, um, it sounds easy like AI can do all this stuff, and it's like, well, there is going back to what we said a minute ago. You've got to have people using scripts. They got to be consistent. You got to have all that. A lot of companies just don't have that. So even if AI could do a lot of this work, it would still depend on our ability to be more effective than we are today, it seems.
Yeah. So what I've seen for those companies, I follow those kind of news from really close, and what they're doing or how they're solving this is they're taking off the licenses for cloth to certain people, right?
Mm,
Because people who you just said it, people who is really good at writing code, they will become more efficient. But maybe a manager or a program manager, they don't need to use it, right?
mm,
So there was a lot of misuse on program manager or managing people using these AI systems to create tools and then forcing other people to use those tools. But those tools were not polished.
mm,
While if someone while if a tech person is willing to use these tools, he's probably building the tools for themselves
mm, mm, mhm. Yeah.
in an efficient way. So it is, I'll say it's not like crystal clear when we see that kind of news, because who is using the tool, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this is kind of the place where I'm trying to position my myself, and is you don't have to run it because you don't have time, right? You don't have time to understand how to do it, to learn how to do it properly, but I do have the experience on how to build it for you.
Well, I agree. I think that I've never worked as an employee for a big company, just been contracted for them. And there's a ton of waste in there already. And yeah, so like when you see these headlines, a company has cut jobs because of AI. It's like, well, okay, first off, there's a ton of waste that they could have cut day one. to your point though, um, just because they have AI doesn't mean that they're the person who can implement it best into the company, because these are very complex organizations. Like, they are crazy how intricate they are. So it doesn't surprise me that not only is there layoffs as a result of AI, which aren't really tied to AI, that we're seeing companies waste a lot of money and now pulling back because they realize, if it's not my money, I can just hit that token button all day. Like, what does it matter? And like, when I used to work at oil and gas, when the oil prices were high, it didn't matter what we did. We could build a client anything. When the oil prices were low, every penny counted, like everything. Like, they were. And so that's the main industry I've seen the big companies in. So perhaps other industries work differently, but in oil and gas, at least, man, when oil's $100 a barrel, you could charge whatever you want. It did not matter. Oil's 45, you better have everything accounted for. So if you're in a high margin, high price environment, they don't care like they do when it's a low margin. In small businesses, rarely do we have that kind of luxury to sit around and go, oh yeah, we're just printing cash. It doesn't matter if we waste a bunch of tokens on AI to see what happens. We don't have that luxury. And so the economics of what we're doing are a lot different than what we're doing. And so how do we translate that news though to the community that we work in, the small business world?
I'll say you just said it as good as you could. Like the more, or the at the end, the more complexity you add to a business, the less efficient they are. And it's fun because that's what they're trying to be, more efficient, right? But they just add a bunch of complexity in the middle. So what I'll say for the small and medium business is just get rid of that complexity. Don't add complexity. Have the people you have your tools that you're going to have to use, and build your systems. And I'm not talking about AI or technical system, but your system as your mechanism of work to be as lean as possible, and to be able to deliver. And then everything will come up with it. Like, if you have a system working that way, you'll be able to apply AI in a lean way. If you have a bunch of steps that are unnecessary, if
Right.
you add AI, it will be doing a bunch of unnecessary steps and burning your money.
Yeah.
So even having a third eye looking there, a third pair of eyes looking there, and seeing your processes, it also helps to realize that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a few more questions, but I know that you brought the website. Did you have something on else that you want to go through, or keep on going? Because I have a few more questions. You
No,
tell
I
me.
think we can keep on going. We are covering mostly all what
Okay.
I prepared.
So on X, AI, everyone's an AI expert, stuff like this. But you walk down the street, small business owners, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of this. I'm just using it. So let's just take the average owner who contracts out IT. They're not AI whizzes. They don't pretend to be. And they see this and they're like, oh, I could use that. How long does it take from the first call with someone like you until there's at least one AI agent process, we'll say, because maybe it's a little bit more complex, but how long does it take from that first call, kind of scoping it out, to being deployed?
So a lot of times when I get calls, people already tends to know what they want to automate, or they at least have an idea on where they want to work. So if they have that solved, it's gonna be a lot faster. If I have to go and review where can I implement my services, it just takes maybe 2 extra days. But once they know, between they have an operating AI system working and running some workflows for them, it takes around 3 weeks per workflow to build. Uh, if they, yeah, I'll say that if they are taking more time than that, they are going slow, or they're going slow, or they're trying to do something else. But at least for me, or in my experience, it takes around 40 to 50 hours, depending on the complexity of the workflow that you want to run, to build something that is fully functional.
Okay. So you build that first one, a few weeks. is running the second one, can it learn from that first one? Or does it another 40, 50 hours? Like, I guess as you go along, does that time period shorten, or is it the same regardless for each new process that you bring agents into?
So I'll say it depends. If the system is independent from the other one, and you just use, I'll say, for example, the same table that you are using, but it doesn't depend one on each other. They're gonna be completely separate, and it might take the same 40 hours. If if it takes some steps from the previous workflow, then it's gonna be much faster because you have some of that already built.
Sorry, I choked up. Choked on the
Yeah,
water there. Okay.
yeah. I hope you're well.
No, the water got me. Um, okay. So it seems like you mentioned Hermes earlier. There's all this news about what's coming, what's happening. How much of that is real versus how much of that is this fake? Because I can see people going, "Yeah, I hear this. I could use this, but man, every day something new is happening." So how fast is this stuff actually progressing versus just people talking about it online to get attention?
So there is, for sure, there is much hype. They are a lot of gurus trying to be the one and to give you the magic wand to solve all your problems with AI, right? It happens before with medicine. But yeah, we are in a place that you can start building stuff, and if it is built properly, it will update on its own, so you don't have to rework it. And if AI keeps getting better and better, your system is going to be better and better, but you are not doing anything extra because you already built it properly and build it in a way that it will self update. For newer tools like newer updates or people developing new stuff, I'll just say just keep an eye on it. If that's something that really interests you, see how it works, and wait a little bit until it's mature. And there is so much people working on that right now that mature can be 3 weeks or mature can be 6 months. But at the end, it depends on how of an early bird you want to be. Like, yeah, I'll say just like how much risk are you willing to put in? And
Hmm.
even if you are willing to put some risk, there are ways you can be safer at that risk.
Okay, what is right now the safest agent you could say that any owner could use without knowing them? You could say, like, right now, I'm pretty confident that any owner could use this right now.
So it depends. They have to build it on its own.
They call you up and like, hey, Rodrigo, listen, I need an agent. I don't know where to start. Just pick one for me and I'll pay you, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Like, what's the
Oh,
one that you said that they could
then
use?
I'll say that's the best way. Tailor fit agents that don't run or don't think on its own, that are in cage to do a specific task, and they can't think outside of that box. Where there is more risk, and I don't say there is going to be a lot of risk, but it's in the agentic thinking, or where they can build their own agents. That's where there is a little bit more of risk if you don't know what you're doing. But if you want to do something really specific, like responding your emails, or this plumbing phone call agent that we described earlier, that's super safe because it runs on your own computer, and it doesn't have access to anything that you don't want it to have access.
And when you say it runs on my own computer, do you mean like get the Mac Mini and it's on its own Mac Mini, or actually on this Mac right here that I'm using?
I mean, it can run on your Mac Mini. It can run on your computer. It depends on how you build it. I think a Mac Mini is overkill. You're shooting a mosquito with a bazooka. Uh, so yeah, most of times you can just buy a virtual server. It's gonna be like $15 per month, and put your agents over there, and it's gonna be way cheaper than owning a Mac Mini just for that.
Okay, so shift gears here. I know we came across each other because you were working with Girdley. So how did you meet him? How did that process get started? Because obviously he's a big name in the SMB world.
Yeah, I mean, well, Michael, I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I was advertising as that on LinkedIn. Besides this, I have a company that a retail company, and I sell uh, clothes or outdoor clothes in Mexico. And I was approached by his team because he was searching some associates, or he wanted to incubate new business. And it becomes like he wants to keep owning business because it's fun for him, but he doesn't want to be building them. So he keeps trying to find people that check his boxes and keep them, and try to make them run a business that he will enjoy, and just keep coaching him, in this case coaching me around, and I'll say supervising me and saying and seeing that what I do goes in the right direction.
Well, awesome. Obviously, he's a big name, and I'm sure a great mentor for you.
Yeah, and I have to give him a great shout out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
No,
really.
no, that's he put a thing out there. I was like, huh. I think I do think that, and I don't know at what point the AI becomes kind of commonplace to where every day there's not something new, earth shattering. But at some point that's going to happen, you know. So, but right now it feels like every day something big's happening, and sometimes it is big, and sometimes it's not. And you mentioned earlier kind of the gurus, and it's like, it gets exhausting because I would say there's probably more than most people realize that can be done. At the same time, there's not as much as the gurus say there can be done, right? And so you're trying
Yeah.
to tell people there's more that can be done, but not that much more. And like that's just not exciting to say. And so I don't know how you say that message. Maybe you have some insights. Like, how do you say that message in a way that people go, okay, yeah, that's worth listening to?
I'll just say that when people is trying to sell you courses instead of offering the service for you, there is a sign there, right?
Mm,
Like, it happens the same thing with salespeople. Like, they're trying to sell you a course for selling, and not selling you the service to sell for you. So it might have a tweak there, right?
mm.
They might be something worth noticing there. But yeah, there's this must happening every day. So I'll just say, if you have the mental bandwidth to keep it, just keep doing it. if
Mm.
you if you don't, just get someone who can help you do it, because I think we keep hearing this, like,
Mhm.
companies that start using it from the beginning will be able to overcome more than the ones that try to catch later.
Okay, we're talking a year from now. What has changed in AI that people should be looking for?
I think the biggest change is happening in the agentic way to use. Like, at the beginning, it was a lot of this responding and being more saying more the truth, and stop hallucinating that much. But I think right now the biggest or the biggest thing that you can do is make AI work for you, and this is where you have to keep an eye. Like, just go to your ask you the next following questions. Does it happens every week? Could you write down the rules on how to do it? If you Because at the end, if you can explain it to a new hire, you can make parameters or rules for an agent. And where does it live? And if you check these three boxes, there is for sure a case that you can build an agent for it to help you.
Okay. All right. So I got the website right here, correct? SEOcrux.com.
Yes.
Okay. So they can reach out to you there. You're also on LinkedIn as well, I believe. And so anything else before we hop off here today?
No, thank you for the space, Ryan, and yeah,
Yeah, it
and
was great
thanks
to
for.
connect. And sorry about the bad link. The AI agents could have saved me. So apologies on that.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll send you something to help you with that.
All right. Talk soon, brother.
Talk to you soon. Bye.